So continuing where we left off, the last thing we did was the hand, and a little of it was kind of improvised because, you know, we really didn't know what was going to happen when you dealt with certain parts of the object. And there is one thing I noticed that I wanted to fix. For example, over here, I didn't really do the sleeve properly, so I think that it would be a good idea to just fix that right now. And you just go to X-ray mode in the front and the back. You can see where it needs to be done. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take these vertices and align them with the sleeve in the front and in the back. And that'll simplify things for us, and it won't drastically change the arm. So there, it's already done. And from there, what we want to do is, I'm going to edit mesh, insert edge loop tool, and I'm just going to insert some geometry right there, and it's just going to create a ring close to there. And from there, I'm going to press W. I'm going to move it to overlap the original line that we have, and then press R, and I'm going to scale it out so that and then move it a little bit so that it lines up with the shirt sleeve. So now we got a little ridge for the shirt there. It's just a little something extra. You don't have to do it. You could make the shirt flush to his arm if you want. And you know, if you really care about the poly count, you can just avoid getting this. I think it's about 16 extra triangles. And I just moved this in a bit. So that'll fix that problem. You could go down here and make the rest of the arm a little bit looser to go with the shirt, and that'll make it look a lot closer to. If you just go through the whole thing, just loosen it up, and that'll make it look more like a t-shirt sleeve. So there we go, and you can see that it is a sleeve just like we did for the bottom of the leg, and now we get to move on to the neck. So working on the neck, we've already prepared it and we've created this little part here, and what that does is it helps us create the base of the neck to work from. And just go to edge, double click this ring, which is the neck, and we have to be very careful from this point on because we're working on something that is symmetrical in the x-axis, which is the head. So we have to make sure that whatever we do to one side, we're doing to the other side. Now the problem with this model already is that it's not split down the middle. It has one polygon here, and it's an odd number. So if you wanted to go ahead and split that, you could do that and split it in the middle, and that would help a little bit later on when you're texturing and UV mapping. But personally, I don't like to mirror my UVs, and you'll know what that means when we come to it. But we'll just work on the neck right now. I'll just go extrude, press W, and what I'm going to do is just move it up and scale it so that it fits the neck. And just depends on your drawings as well. I think I'm going to go lower, around here. You can use this image to match it up in the side. So we're going to be creating a couple of extra polygons here. You could use less. And also, if you want to create see the shirt does not flush with the neck in real life. So if you wanted to, you could also just you could create a little indent here to start before you start the neck, and then you could extrude again, press W, and then continue business as usual. And you have the start of the neck. Edit mesh, extrude again, and then just stretch it out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to vertex, and remember we're working in both sides now, so you have to make sure you select this one and this one. So you might want to turn on X-ray and make sure that you select this vertex here. And I'm just going to line it up. I'm going to center it a bit. In fact, this one I'm going to move it up so that it's touching this earpiece here. And in the back, you won't be able to see it in the front, and in the back it depends on your drawings, but you might be able to see it lining up with this neckline. It depends on the quality of your drawings too. You might not be able to see it. And in this one we can stop this line here and then extrude it again, but only for a few sides, like this one. But then we're going to have a problem with what do you call it? Triangles as well. So I'll just select these three faces here on the back side of the neck, and go to Edit Mesh, Extrude, press W. I'm going to pull it up, and what this does is this is where creating parts of the neck right here. Just select these two vertices, and I'm going to move it behind the ear, and this will create the neck basically. So this is the neck from which your head will be shaped off of. Now this neck uses very low polys, and for that reason your head will also have to use well, you can use more polys, but it'll just, you have to do a lot of work in splitting it. The thing about human head is that in the front, for low poly, in the front you don't have to worry about the detail, but for the side view the detail is really important, as you can see here. So it also depends on your reference art. Maybe you have a really low quality head, maybe you're making a mobile game or doing like a Game Boy size game and the face doesn't really matter, and you're going to do it all in texture anyway. But if you're doing a slightly higher quality character, then you do want to pay attention to this contour in the side view. So I'm going to start from the neck here. I'm going to go Edit Mesh, Extrude, and I'm not really worried about how it looks in the front right now. I'm just doing it for the side. So what I'm doing is I'm extruding it, and I'm using very few polys. I'm not going to try to make anything exactly fitting with the head like I might later on. And again, we're not worrying about the front polygons. We're going to fix those later. But for now, I'm just extruding and creating this part of the face. Now, you might want to add extra detail here for the lips, but when you're working on low poly, and I don't think you're going to animate their mouth at all with low poly characters, but if you do, you can certainly you have to use a different style of modeling, but for low poly you don't really worry about that right now. I'm just creating a slight bump for the mouth. And what I'm doing is I'm just extruding and creating this line, and it's really rough. Just keep doing this. Just keep extruding, press W, and just create a contour. For important parts of the face. So now we got here, and this part is a little tricky because you have this whole round head now. I'm not going to follow the reference art exactly. This reference art was kind of just, it's actually oversized, this head. So I'm going to make it smaller, but I'm not going to do that until later on. Right now I'm just focusing on the face. So as you can see in the front of the image, I've got this weird image here, this weird shape, and this is the face. This is part of the face that we're working on. And we don't really need to. Obviously, we're not going to keep it like this, but we don't have to focus on it right now. What we're going to do is focus on other parts of the body. So remember, we're working symmetrically this time, so it's kind of tricky. Another alternative is you can split your whole model in half and just mirror one side of it. But in this case, I already led you down this path of having a single polygon down the center, so I'm not going to just split it off to make it easy. So I selected these two sides here. You can see here. Now I'm going to edit mesh, extrude, and I'm going to pull it out. And right now I'm just creating the bottom section. And I'm using the reference images as a guide as well. But I'm creating the bottom of the head, and I can use this back image here as a guide as well. Now, I know that it has to be about this width when it comes out, and I'm probably going to extend the neck to match up with that. So let's take this vertex, and here's where you begin to attach it to the head. You select this vertex, you go to vertex, select it, press W, and then hold V. And when you see it become the circle, that means you get ready to snap it to points. So you're just holding it and you snap it to the point right there. Same thing with this side. Hold V, and then you click it and snap it. And it's not connected yet; it's still separate. But what you can do is you can just drag and click all of these points. Press F to show that you haven't selected anything else. And you just go Edit Mesh, and you can merge or merge to center. And since they're basically one-to-one right now, you can just press Merge to center or merge, and it won't make a difference. And you can do it to the side. Edit Mesh, merge to center. Now we've got the bottom side of the head, and it's kind of sharp. So what we're going to want to do is take this point and just redistribute it a little bit, just even it out, so that it's not too much like a shelf. You might even pull it down to help. So I've got that. I might want to do the same thing with I'm going to move the top of these out a little bit more. So you can see I select these ones by the ear, and they're supposed to be behind the ear, so they should be around here technically, because they're behind the ear. And when you got the base ear skull, it comes up, and these are way behind the ear. Like it's not humanly natural to go past this point. Technically, it would be around here, but we're just going to put it here because we're going to make the ear kind of separate from it. So with that point out, I can adjust this based on its proportions. So coming up from this neckline, it comes up like that. I can turn off X-ray to see it better. You can see this line comes up here, and then you want to create a natural curve here, so you might just do that a little bit. And then we got this curve here. I'm not going to connect this one to this one yet. We're just going to see what happens, and then later on we might connect it later, but my feeling is that we're probably going to need that later on. We're going to need a hole there later on. So I'm going to head and pull this out here. Just pull it down and hide it a little bit. It's on the underside of the cheek. In fact, I probably should have just left this one alone as well, but we'll come back to it. This isn't exact science at this point, we're just doing what feels right. So starting with the nose, I can see that, at the tip of the nose, you gotta look at the character here and bring it to the tip. Now I already drew in around this area, and you're just thinking about this here to create a contour for the tip of the nose. I might want to tighten up here a little bit and push it in. And this vertice touches about here, which is about there on the nose from the front view. And from there, I'm going to come up to this one. I'm going to select these two, as you can see here, and I'm going to bring them in as well. I'm just kind of guessing. So I'm just seeing if I'm just imagining, for example, the tip of the eyebrow here is the tip here, and I'm just imagining where this point lies as far as this thing is concerned. If we did create a center line, this would be a lot easier. So maybe it is better that we do create a center line. For example, if you go Edit Mesh, insert Edge Loop Tool, and what we do is just create a division across the whole model. And we created that. And in X-axis, just press 0, and that should center everything. As you can see, it should perfectly divide your model in two. And that'll actually make things easier for us as well, because now we can create a better tip for the nose as well. I'm going to just pull this back, I guess. Actually, that doesn't seem perfectly centered to me. So what I'm going to do is select all the centered vertices in this model. I'm going to use perspective to see it. I don't think I missed anything, as far as I can tell. Make sure to check the inside, like this point. Okay, I'm going to press 0 on the X-axis again. That should change all the points to 0. So I think the problem is a few of these points just aren't centered. But that won't be a problem. We'll just manually center them. And you can always cut this model in half and duplicate the left side again. I'll show you how to do that later when we're texture mapping. But for now, we're just using it so that we can see what we're doing. So that this actually helps now, because now we can pull this out. And I'm lining it up with the sides of the nose. And you can see what I'm doing here, as I can just line it up with the side of the nose, just like that. And it's that simple. And here, I'm going to do the same thing. Line it up around there. This one. And pull it out a little bit more. And line it up with the nose where I think it is. I might want to move it in more. And again, this reference image isn't exact, so try to ignore the shadows because they weren't really, well, it could be the fact that it's an anime style character, so you know, when it comes to anime, front and side don't exactly line up properly anyways. There's a lot of effects that go into play to make it look like they do. So you should probably find better reference art that matches up properly when you're doing this. If, for this part, I'm kind of do it this part kind of under the nose, and it does go under the nose about there. This part is about the top. Sorry. Click here, make sure to get on both sides. And this part is, you can see, it comes up to, we're just going to move it out. And if you look at human lips, they usually go up a little bit before they go down. And we're going to do that in the same sections of the face where they would do it on the lips. And this character, we're going to do this part there, and this in a bit. And if it looks off a little bit, just center it. You can use this box as a guide here. This box should be absolute center. And this, so you know, if it's off center, that's not right. You just put it in the center. If you can't, if you're trying to move it and it doesn't go properly, what you can do is you press plus or minus, and if you press plus, it makes the arrows bigger, and what that does is it actually makes it more precise. So you can make smaller movements, and you press minus, it'll make it less precise. And again, I'm just going down the model here, just creating the outline for it. And around the chin, it doesn't come out too much. Well, it depends on the person, I guess. And this one actually goes up. So now we've got the beginnings of the face here. And doesn't look like much yet, but we have to keep working on it. And these things do take time. Now, if I was doing this character at slightly higher than low poly, even, I would make the eyes separate objects from the head. But in this case, it's a cartoon character. His face is going to be low poly. It's going to be pasted on basically like a poster. I want to keep the front. I don't really have to worry about the front that much. The side, I do have to worry about. The eyes are tricky here because, as you can see, they go round and they go inwards. So just make sure that you understand that this isn't like a triangle where this is the tip and this is, and the base comes outwards like that. There's actually a lot of complexity with the cheek coming out further than the part closer to the nose. Maybe you don't understand what I'm saying when I say that, but I'll show you. So first things first is I'm going to take this section of these faces here on opposite side of the nose. I'm going to edit mesh, extrude, press R, and I'm going to just pull it down a bit. And then in here I'm going to line it up. And right now I'm just creating the part where this is a dip in the face. I'm going to vertex here, move this one up, and I'm just trying to create the shape of the bottom of the face where the nose ends. There's not going to be too much definition in the nose because anime characters really don't have that much definition in the nose, and there really shouldn't be anyways. In fact, I'm going to select these edges here and smooth them out a bit because I'm worried that it's going to look too small for make his nose look too small. And I don't want it to be I don't want it to be like I don't want it to be carrot nose like this. So I'm just gonna let it go out there a little bit more. Now, this is a low part. This is a low point, and by low point I mean in this direction, in the z-axis. And what we have to do is we have to come back out in the z direction for the top of the cheeks. For example, when this comes out to, this is the midpoint of your cheeks, and if you look at your cheekbones, it's a bump. So that bump actually comes out around, like, let's say there. So we're actually coming back out a bit. Of course, if we're going by our reference art, it doesn't go in that much, but again, this part could actually go in deeper to reflect that. But remember to pay attention to this, that this is one of the times when your reference art betrays you, if you're not familiar with human anatomy that much. So I'm just going to tweak these points here to match up with the head. And we're actually doing I would actually put more detail into the head than the rest of the body, but that's just me. Right now I'm using extremely low detail, just because I want to stay true to the low poly philosophy. I can't remember what I had in mind when I first started making these tutorials, but I'm going to try to make it more low poly. So now we're going to extrude again. I selected these edges on either side, edit mesh, extrude, and now I'm going to the part around. See this shadow that I drew? This is about the part where the front of the face abruptly starts going around to the back of the head, where this line out here represents the back of the head, but it's like a really steep movement all the way back, whereas this part where the light and shadow of the cheek is pretty much the front of the face. So it's about there in the side picture. The shadow here actually goes out farther, but that's just the way I drew it, I suppose. I mean, I could line it up, but I feel like it's a lot closer to right here where the eye starts. Because if you look at your own head, if your head was a box, that would be where the corner is. So I'm just gonna make sure these 2 points are selected, shrink it in a bit, and it should be parallel to this line, slightly parallel. It's more parallel on this side. The reference art isn't perfect. So now you can see we come out for the cheeks, then we come back in. If we wanted to, we could create a little bit more detail. In fact, I think that this drawing is really off when it comes to the shadows. So I'm just gonna take all these points, I'm gonna pull them out a little bit, about there. And I think that's more of the front of the face. So if I press 3 to show a smooth object, you can see now I've got cheeks beginning. And this character is meant to be used. Obviously the face is not going to be that defined, so you have to make sure that the type of lighting you use on this model when it comes to texturing illuminates the drawing or your texture perfectly. You can't just use shadows from its actual mesh. You can't just use the model like that and have the shadows line it, because then it'll make the nose look funny. You have to make sure that the lighting is better for your map. Sometimes we call it toon lighting, or we call it self-illumination. You can actually do that in Maya in materials if you use ambient light and use a texture for it, then it'll always illuminate it. But then you can't use shadows as well, so that's kind of a catch-22. So from here, you can see that now we have this part, and we've created the corner piece of the head. I'm going to edit mesh, extrude. I'm going to pull it back, and I'm coming around here, which is about in this drawing. This ends here, and then from then on, it's pretty much just straight back to the back of the head. So from here, I'm just going to move this up a little bit, because I'm creating this swooping curve up to match with this polygon here. And then from here, I'm going to go down. I'm going to select this. I'm going to edit mesh, extrude, and using this front image as a guide, I'm going to line it up like there. Oops. Press W, pull it down, and then scale it inwards. Then you could check the side pictures here. If you were to imagine where this part is, right here, this corner, it's actually around here, but there's a lot of information from here to here. It's about right, because the cheeks actually start about here, the jaw, this whole section here is basically this area. And then you gotta worry about these front vertices right here. And I'm gonna move them around here. And then I'm gonna pull them out a little bit here. And the reason I'm doing this is because there's a line from the mouth that I wanted to line up with, because it's really important to have your topology have lines that work properly. I might even change this part here where I worked on the chin earlier, but this was just to help me get a feel of the head. And you can see it's actually working out a little bit. You can see it's going in a good direction. I might just delete this face here because it's working against us right now. It's actually confusing me a little bit, so I'm just going to delete. I selected those two, I'm just going to delete them. So around here, move this in. Okay, so edge, shift select these, edit mesh, extrude, and I'm pulling it down more. I'm actually going to scale it in a little bit more. And right now, you can just look at this, the art here in the where it's guiding us. It's telling us where it needs to be. So I just lined it up with this chin because, you know, the reference art's really important. You can't betray it that much. You have to make sure that your polygons don't go outside of this line because that's the jawline. And what I'm going to do about these 2 points is obviously W, V, snap it. W, V, snap it. Remember, you press W, V, and then it becomes a circle, and you can snap it to any point. And then you select all of them, and edit mesh, merge to center. Select these ones, edit mesh, merge to center. And now they're attached. And this one becomes the next problem to deal with. This is the lowest point of the chin. As you can see here, you can't move it up or down because it's a long contour. Right now, you can see right here. You can't move it up or down, it'll go off the line. You have to keep it on the line, but you could move it in or out. So I would move it in a little bit, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at this point here and going along with this chin and creating a line up the side of his face. And now I can go edit mesh, append to polygon tool, and I can append this tool here. Edit mesh, append to polygon tool from this side to this point, and now we've got this part of the jaw. And if I press 3, you can see it. You know, creating this cheeks and the face. If it's too smooth, you can change it later. But for now, just create the general shape. You can tweak it later. It's an important part to remember. And from here, you can see that we have a dilemma here with meeting up from here to here. Now on this side there's 3 edges, but over here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 3 to 7, so somewhere along the way a lot of these are going to have to disappear. Now since these are the lips, they're eventually going to meet in a point around here, and that will leave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and then we still have 3 here, but 2 of these don't even exist because we're gonna, this is the bottom piece and it's more like 1, 2 versus 5. But just like this one, where we have to meet it up somehow. So we're gonna have to slowly kind of figure that out as we work on it. And a good idea is just to finish what we started with the ellipse. So I'm gonna select this, 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 and this, and this. Press F and rotate it to make sure you didn't select anyone else. And from here I'm going to edit mesh and extrude. And I'm going to press R and scale it out. And I'm going to line it up with the lines of the ellipse. Just the midpoint. Same here. And these are the beginning of our ellipse. And I'm going to go here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line. Use these extra points here to create the ellipse. And scale it in. Same with this one. Scale it in. So now these are the ellipse, as you can see in the perspective view. And make sure to look at the male ellipse to see how it looks like, because obviously the reference art doesn't really show ellipse. It's a 2D. The character is not really fleshed out because it's a drawing and it's a flat drawing, anime style. But we still have control of our model. We have quads. We have the ellipse created, and from here we have to kind of just fill out this area. Obviously, there's going to be a line from here to here, and we have this dilemma here, just filling out these spots. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate this section. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate a problem with this line. I'm going to move this out here, and what I'm doing is I'm creating the base of the nose. For example, if you ever look on the side of under your nostrils, there's a little point here where it reaches. There's a clear line between your cheeks and the outside of your face here. You just pull it out like that. And you just create that, and you should know that this is part of the base of your nose, kind of where your nostrils start. And from there on, we can go Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool, and what we've done is just kind of finished off the nose area. And from there, we can Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool, from there down to the lips. Then we can do it again. Sort of just finish it off. And then Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool from the side of the face all the way to the front. Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool from here. Oops, yeah, that was wrong. Undo it. Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool from here to here. So this line is complete. Now we have the bottom section here, and this is kind of tricky because we have something that appears like it should be a quad here, a quad here, and then a quad here. So it's a three-part quad. And if you remember earlier, where we had a 3-sided triangle and a 5-sided shape, that we could easily turn that into 3 quads. So obviously, what we need to do is first create a 3-sided shape by appending to polygon. Create the triangle. Oops. Okay, this is a lot more complex than I originally thought. So let's create a quad here. Sorry, I thought there was I forgot about this point here in the lips. I could just delete that point and continue working, but I want to keep that there just in case. But let's go ahead and append to polygon tool because it's easier to fix the problem than to try to think it through. And then from here, Edit Mesh, append to polygon tool. And then we have a problem with the triangle here. So we've got a triangle here, and we need to fix that. And the only way I conceive of fixing it is to split it. Edit Mesh, and try to split tool. So I'm going to go ahead and split this and move it up here. Edit Mesh, and try to split tool from here. And then I'm going to select these points and move them out, move them up. So now we've still got the problem with the triangles, but we can at least fix some of them. Append to polygon, fix that. Edit mesh, append to polygon, fix that. Okay, now I'm gonna go to edge mode, select these two and delete them. Now we just got a triangle here. And now to fix that triangle, what we're going to do is just interact to split tool it, click on it, and just go out from here. Edit mesh, interact to split tool. There are other ways to fix it as well. You can actually loop from here and move upwards, and then it'll help with the line of the mouth as well. But then that's just extra work because we have to split this one anyways. And then from here, I'm just going to move this point out so that's not an exact triangle. And there are probably other ways to fix it, but you'd have to actually sit down and just do it. So you can see that we got the front of our character's head now. There are probably some problems with it you can easily fix, such as this part of the mouth. You might want to move it in more, because the cheeks might be out too much. Even this, you can move the cheeks in a bit. Of course, I'm just tweaking now. So, where we left off is we have this section where we have to connect it to the back of the head, as well as just continue on and create the whole skull in the back. Now, I'm not going to follow this reference image. As I said before, this is oversized. His head is oversized, and I drew it that way probably because the front of the picture asked me to, but then the front of his picture is oversized as well. So the proportions for this character is just way off in terms of his head. And I'm just going to ignore the reference imagery in this case. And what I'm going to do is edit mesh, append to polygon tool, and what I'm going to do is connect from here to here. Edit mesh, append to polygon tool, connect from here to here, and it creates a quad because it looks like a triangle because it just looks like one. You can just pull this out so you can see that it's obviously not. You can just make sure that it looks alright in other parts, other views. And you can check. By pressing 3 you can see it. It looks fine. Now, the head is tricky. There's many ways to approach the head. You can do it like I did before, just creating a contour and just lining it up later. But what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to make sure that I treat the eyes properly. So I'm going to continue here where I have this section. Edit mesh, extrude it, and I'm going to pull it up and line it up with this part of the eye in the front picture. I'm going to scale it out like there. Make sure it's lined up with one of the eyes. It's not going to match both of them properly. Probably it's either the reference art or the model's just off-center from the beginning. And just make sure that you've got the center point between the ears and this part of the eye, because it's on the center point here. And from here, select the edges again, edit mesh, extrude up, I'm going to move it back, and then from there you see I have two edges here and I have two edges here, and I'm intentionally keeping them numbered the same so I can connect them. So I can go edit mesh, append to polygon tool. So they're connected now. Edit mesh, append to polygon tool. Those are connected. And then now I look at the bottom here, and I have one edge up top, and at the bottom I have 1, 2, 3. So obviously, if I want to have a simple connection between these two faces, I need to turn these ones into 3s. So I'm going to go Edit Mesh, Add Divisions, and make sure to press a square so I can change the options. Now this is either going to be 1 and 3 or 3 and 1, and I don't really know which direction the normals go. There, it actually always changes. It's not like horizontal and vertical. Sometimes it doesn't work. This case it did work, but sometimes you might have to go 3 and 1. So now I have 3 here and 3 in the bottom, and that'll make things a lot simpler. What I can do is I can append a polygon right now and just connect these faces now. So now you can see quads everywhere, and they all line up nicely. Edit Mesh, append a polygon tool. Now, since I just created these divisions, I have to adjust them properly. So, looking at this part of the eye here, I have these ones here in the center, and these ones more on the outside. So I'm gonna evenly distribute them across the eye. And then using the front of the image, you can't, this part, this point here, where it rests on the beginning of the pupil here, or the iris, you can't see it on this side because you can only see the left side of his eye. So you're going to have to guess it a little bit. The drawing is not exact, but it's not going to be exactly on the opposite side. It's going to be close around. Make sure you select on both sides. Just say it's around there. And it doesn't go in that much, actually. You can look at your perspective to make sure that it looks okay. And then select this one, and it's already in the right place. Of course, now you got this parted. If you look at here, okay, there's a problem. Alright, so the problem is I'm looking at the back of the neck here. It's confusing me. So I'm going to turn off X-ray. But I'm just going to make these lines more gradual. Make sure the cheekbone still sticks outwards here. Yeah, this is the front of the face, and the eyeballs obviously are going to be pasted on. Hopefully they look all right from the front and the side. If you have to, you can always create more geometry by splitting it up a little bit more, so that you actually do get an actual round eye shape. Like see as we did for the mouth here, we kind of outlined the mouth. You could have done the same thing for the eyes and then connect it up later, filling it in. But in this case, we're not going to worry about that. So we got this part down here, and so obviously there's what we have is two sides here and one edge here, and that creates a problem with the numbering. But at the same time, it's the back of the head, it's the side of the cheeks. The detail is not that important. If you're working in low poly, you don't want to focus too much on it. So I would actually just advise not just solving it using not splitting it up so much. Just connect these two. Connect these two. And then what would I do from the base of the neck here? I keep selecting the front of the face. Okay, so from here, I'm going to edit mesh extrude. I'm going to scale it so that I'm still following the line of the ear, but lining it up with the back of the skull as well. I'm going to go up 1. Then what I'm going to do is go to vertices, tug this in a bit, pull this one out a little bit more. And as you can see, I'm just connecting from this vertice to here, and from this one to here. And I'm going to edit mesh, I'm going to merge them. Now it doesn't look nice, because it'd be nice to have equal lines going all the way across, but since this is the back of the head, you don't really have to worry about that. Because we're working in low poly, it's going to be covered by ear and hair. But of course, you could just make your own decision to not do that. Okay, so I guess doing that kind of created another problem, because now we just have to make sure that it does line up with the ears properly. Just make sure that the side profile still works with the other side of the profile, the front of the profile. There. So we got that. If you press 3, you can see how it looks like smooth. See this line? That means that actually just means that vertices probably aren't properly connected. You just select them. Make sure you select the vertices that you want to merge. Edit mesh, merge to center. Same thing with this. Edit mesh, merge to center, and it should connect it. If the line is still there, it means it's still not connecting. So what I can do is edit mesh, append to polygon tool, and what I'm doing is I'm just seeing if the line is thicker. See, you can see that line here is thicker, so that means it's not connected for some reason. So I could just, what I'm going to do is just delete this, go edit mesh, append to polygon tool, and I'm going to reconnect this. And now when I press 3, you can see that that crease is gone. Still on this side, I'm going to just delete this face, edit mesh, append to polygon tool. There it is. So it's gone. And it's always helpful to press 3 every now and then to see how your character looks like smooth, even though you shouldn't be using it smooth. And now that I have it connected, there's obviously this huge fall off here, and what I want to do is fix that by readjusting these points on the back of the head and the front. So I'm going to redistribute them. I'm going to pull them in a bit. And we're able to do this now as opposed to before because we split it, the whole model down the middle. So I can just move it in a little bit more now. I'm just moving these inwards a bit and pulling them out. Oh. Just move them in and then spread them out. Once again, edit mesh, extrude, and I'm pulling these up. Edit mesh, append to polygon tool. Edit mesh, append to polygon tool. Now those are connected. Now if it looks a little flat to you, see in the back, it's kind of almost a straight line. So what you want to do is select those points and maybe just spread them out a little bit more. make it a rounder shape because it shouldn't be able to, it shouldn't look like that. So just spread them out a little bit more. Maybe pull them in a little bit more as well. But you don't want it to be too straight. Also, these ones might need to be reined in a bit. Make sure you select it on both sides. Pull it in a bit. So if I pull these in, I lose the shape of the head, so maybe I should just ignore that for now. It looks fine if you smooth it, but obviously the shape of the head is not perfect, and that's because of the reference imagery, so it's my fault. I'm just going to move it out. I'm just tweaking this for now. Okay, that's went forever like that. So this is the general shape of the head, for this part of the body. And now we've got this big problem, which is this cranium. So I'm going to do a little bit of counting first. See, I got 4 sides, 4 edges on one side, 2 edges on the absolute side, and I've got, I think, 8 edges on the inside. So 8 plus 2 plus 4 is 14. So I've got a 7-sided cube, essentially. Although some of these faces could be merged into a smaller cube, so let's just say, let's just assume let's just make it 4 in the front and 4 in the back. That's 8, and then 2 on the sides, 2 for each side. So that's 8 plus 2 is 10. So let's just create a 10-sided sphere. And the easy way to do that is just to actually create a sphere. Let's change it to the top view. And just select sphere, and then just hold shift and create one. Now you click attribute editor, and it could just be that one right here, or on the side here it says attribute editor here. Click polysphere. Now you have to mess around with these subdivision axes. One of them has to be 10, and that's the right one, because we're just creating 10 on the 10 of these. And then as for the height, you want maybe 4, because you don't want too much detail in the head. Actually, it should be 8 because we're only using one side of the sphere. So we're just using 10 and 8 right now. Now if I select that sphere, it's all the way down here. And the only thing I gotta worry about now is just fixing the radius. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for faces, and I'm going to select half of them in this view and just delete it. Now I have this head here, and I can actually scale it using the front view to just about the size of the head. And remember, just don't use the reference imagery because the head is off. And then what you do is just change it, rotate it 18 degrees, and now it's just fine. So select the head again. Might want to freeze the transformations, and what will this do is realign your axes for transforming. Now I can just change it again. And I'll just change it to the width of the head in the side and in the front. And it's already rotated. I just make sure that it's the right height. That seems about right to me. And I just need to double click this and pull it out a little bit, because the skull is not, people have a brain in there. So you can see that we're creating most of it here. Now here comes the tricky part, because it's not going to be an exact fit, obviously, but most of it should be okay. I'm just going to select points, press V, and snap it to whatever I can. And it's not going to be exact. It's going to be close enough. And then we'll have extra geometry here. And first thing I'm going to do is, these are two separate objects, so I need to make them into one object. So I'm just going to go, so with them both selected, I'm going to go Edit Mesh, and then what I'm going to do is go to, oh sorry, not Edit Mesh, but go to Mesh, and just go to Combine, and it's going to make it into one mesh. But then, as you remember earlier, because of all the stuff we do to this model, what it does is it puts it all into one object. I'm just going to edit, delete all by type, history, and now you can see that we should only have the body and then the arm with the hand attached to it in the outliner. And I just go back to 4-up view, and now I can continue where I left off, which is pull this down, and I'm actually going to pull it down a little bit. Go to shading, X-ray. I'll just rotate this a bit. So what I need to do is I need to merge those points I added because they're still not attached. For example, if I press Edge, I select this and pull it up, you see that this point is not attached to that point. So I need to go connect all these points. Now a simple way to do it is just I could select them all the attached points, that is, using a side view like this. So when I have them all selected, I can just go Edit Mesh, Merge, but Merge is sensitive to a certain degree of closeness. Since these are snapped on top of each other, they're exactly close, so you don't have to worry about the threshold. But sometimes you do have to worry about the threshold if things are slightly close. And even snapping doesn't exactly put them one-to-one in the same spot. It'll be like close within a certain decimal range. So you just apply it, and now they should be attached. For example, if I click this edge, you see it pulls the vertices from the bottom part of the head as well. And now we have this, after that's done, we have this dilemma here. Now we can fill this in, it'll be a quad. As you can see. Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool. And if this is good enough for you, then you can just go ahead and move on with that. But obviously, there's things wrong with the shape of our head that we have to address. Because just because we just attach those two parts doesn't mean it's going to look right in this perspective. You can see here, you know, it's not exact. And so I'm going to use this reference images, and I'm going to see this contour from the ear here comes up, and then for some reason it jags inwards when it should really just be smoother and create a line with the top of the head. So now it's a curve, see? And I'm going to continue that with parts of with these lines here. And I'm just selecting them and moving them. And it's going to be different for different parts of the head. Now you can see that this is totally off from the reference drawing, but the reference drawing that's insanely huge. I don't know why I drew it like that. That was a long time ago. But if you wanted to match it more closely, you could just scale it out until it looks okay. I'm just eyeballing it right now, and it looks all right like this. But I am just going to tweak it just a little bit. And I'm just looking at the perspective right now. So if I smooth it out, you can see that it mostly looks okay. In my opinion, this part is a little bit too small. The human brain pulls out a little bit more. So I am going to pull it out slightly more. You can look at our skull pictures, and you'll see that it does stick out a little bit more. And then it obviously looks more natural now. And I could continue tweaking it, but I don't want to spend too much time on the details. You have to use your own reference image to make sure it looks all right. Hopefully yours isn't, well, if you're using the exact same as mine, I apologize, but if you're making your own reference imagery, hopefully it's anatomically correct. And you just adjust things slightly. So yeah, this is the head, this is the arm, and so far that's what we've got going here. I noticed a problem here is that there seems to be points here that aren't connected. If I go Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool, I can see that the culprit is these two lines. This one here is, there's a hole in between there, and there's a hole here. So for some reason or another, those did not connect properly. So what I can just do is I can delete one at a time. Edit Mesh, and I'll just, what I'll do is I'll just connect from there, and I'll Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool. And usually you can jump from here to here, but I guess in this case it doesn't let me. Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool, and you can see now the holes jumped from here to here. I just delete that side. Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool. Edit Mesh, append to Polygon tool. No more holes. So now that's no longer there. When you smooth out your character, it looks like this, but you shouldn't be using smooth characters. But it's usually a good hint that something, if you smooth it and you see that there's weird things like this eyebrow pit is too huge, it's just a good hint that you have to redistribute your quads out a little bit more. So I'm just gonna I'm actually gonna do that. Just redistribute it, and then you see it's getting less and less troublesome. So that's our character so far. And from here, I could start doing the hair, but I'm not going to do the hair yet. I'm going to leave the hair till last because it's slightly, it takes some knowledge of texturing, and it's slightly more, I guess slightly more tricky. So I'm going to start by texturing the base model first, kind of making a bald character like we have in our reference image. And that's for the next section. Oh, one last thing is you have to duplicate this arm to the other side, and then you can connect it to the rest of the body. Something that bothered me when I'm working in this model is that it wasn't perfectly symmetrical, so one thing you might want to do is just delete it and then mirror the whole picture, but we don't have time to do that. But when you do this with the arm, you'll know how to do it with this whole body anyways. But these two aren't connected yet. I'm just going to duplicate this. Actually, I'm not going to duplicate this now. I'll duplicate it later, and that's because I'm going to UV map it, and then I'll duplicate it, and that'll save us time, because you don't want to UV map both arms at the same time separately. But if you UV map one arm and then just duplicate it to the other side, then you won't have to UV map it again. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to focus on texture mapping, as well as preparing it for texture mapping by figuring out how to soften these normals, because right now it's kind of a hard edge across the whole model. In fact, last thing I'll do is just edit. I'll just select the whole thing, and I'll harden all the edges. So then I'll just end at this point for this video.